Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Frontline podcast episode. As always, it's your boy, Command Sergeant Major Malarkey. And as always, hosted with me today is,
Major General Cosmic, representing the officers, of course.
and as always, boys, we have another very special guest today joining us. If you would like to introduce yourself.
I'm Staff Sergeant Bam. I'm currently leading the Platoon Baker Company. Also acting as their first sergeant. And yeah.
All right, Sam. All right. Oh, what was that?
Nothing.
All right, Sam. Right. So, just with this podcast episode, we're going to go into Bam's backstory and how he went into how he joined the end staff. We're also going to be talking about the new weaponized armored vehicle battalion. Is that right, Cosmic?
Yeah, our new armored infantry unit that will be phasing out the airborne, and I'll be going over a few FAQs, some frequently asked questions that I've heard, or we'll get
And
Malarkey and Bam to ask.
and maybe at the end of it, some insight into Operation Scorch. Right. Let's jump into it. So, Bam, what is it? I'm going to ask you some questions. You just try and answer as quickly as possible. Yeah. How did you join the front lines? What got you actually interested into the front lines?
So pretty much, I was playing this realm with like a few people I knew, and this guy called Miller was in it. Now I joined the world of him, and like ever since then, I was like, oh, I gotta join this. So I begged Miller for about a week every day until he finally invited me to the Discord server. And then it was like a while of waiting. And then one day I woke up early to like be recruited, and yeah, that's how I got in.
So,
That's mad.
sorry for cutting out, but was it so you joined because of Miller and Doze? Now, were they the ones that kind of made you want to stay, or was it something else that you saw here that made you want to stay?
Um, well, the reason I wanted to stay, pretty much, I just like injured myself and I had nothing else to do. So I thought this would be a good like occupation of my time. And
I actually remember. I remember you getting injured. Was it not actually getting injured? But I remember you going into surgery and all that. You sent me some pictures.
yeah.
Oh, that's bad. What is it? Thing So you stayed because you injured and you like the community. If out of
Yeah.
everyone in the front lines, who do you reckon actually helped you out stay and actually get interested into it?
Probably Teague at the time. Yeah, he was pretty like helpful and handy, and he would like message me to like he was only like the only real guy that I knew like got to know at first.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then as I like got into the server a bit more, I got to know a lot of people, and yeah, that's how I got like fully in, I guess.
You know what? That's always something Teague's always done. He's always been dead helpful, especially since he was an officer back then, weren't he? Was
No,
it?
no, that was
Or was he
whenever
not?
that was whenever Teague was still Sergeant First Class.
Oh, when he
Yeah,
Yeah, third
right, you
platoon.
can't
he
Yeah.
was my
recall.
platoon leader.
Hmm.
Forgot about that. My bad. What is it? Yeah. What is it? Anyways, out he has always kind of just been helpful, getting in new people and all that, and also making them stick around. Thing young, what is it? Um, you you are what is it? A staff sergeant, right?
Yeah, that's
What is
correct.
it? Yeah. Your plans are to become was it a not a sergeant major, but a senior NCO. There we go.
Yes. Yeah. I've always been set on becoming a senior TO because
But why is that? Who gave you that
well,
mindset on becoming a senior
Roshan
NCO?
his own fucking name.
Oh my god. Yeah, exactly.
All right,
from
no, sorry.
my
Go ahead.
from my point of view, I've always like looked at it like the senior NCOs. They're meant to like be friendly with the enlisted and like get them intrigued into the server, like kind of how Teague went done with me. Like I just want people to have an enjoyable time, and I feel like it would be good to be a senior NCO and try to help with that.
Yeah, I feel like being a senior NCO, especially I've been there the longest, you get more connection with the enlisted than officers do. You've got that bridge between officer where you have that connection with your officers. Also, you're not distance away from the enlisted ranks, so you kind of become that. Everyone kind of knows who you are, and everyone just kind of likes being around you and all that because you're so well known and just a vibe to chill with.
Mm-hmm.
You got any question? Fucking hell, you
Yeah.
got any questions, Nick?
Yeah, because I remember when you first came in, of course, I was the person that did train you a lot whenever you were first becoming a platoon leader. And of course, doing those late night leadership training with you and Ferry, I think Private Tanab back in the day, whenever you first came around and first wanted to start being a platoon leader for Charlie.
I don't even know what that is. Tanab.
Tanab, he was a private. He was only here for like a couple of weeks, and then he left, or got kicked out from activity checks. So, like, is there any specific moments that you can think back to, like, I don't know, during operation, like what made you really feel like you were a leader in the front lines?
I'm actually not too sure about that. I just remember being like a not the best leader, and then I low-key kind of begged you for leadership trainings, like a lot. And yeah, that's I just got better just by doing it a lot, I guess. And
Just by practice.
yeah, and I also feel like with recruiting, I know doing the sim a lot of times over and over again, that kind of helped with like my confidence. Actually, yeah, that helped a lot. I feel like.
Like that, like I feel like people that want to become more confident and all that, yeah. Even though, like in my opinion, I hate doing like recruitment and all that. Yeah, it's so boring and all that. Yeah, it's nice to see new people, but especially at the end of it when you're doing the black box training or like the simulation and all that. Yeah, when it actually comes to that, yeah, you gain more leadership than what you actually expected, and all like.
Yeah.
Like for people who are listening to this, sorry, who are new to the front lines, yeah, and want to gain more leadership, constantly just bash out recruitment and all that, because not only do you get that recognized, not only do you get recognized for doing recruitment and all that, yeah, because we've got that point system now, where for every recruitment you do, you gain a point. You also gain more values like leadership, and you're being able to communicate with everyone else. Like your communication skills gain as well. So, like I said, for new people who want to become, higher NCOs or even officers and all that, yeah, and including the junior NCOs, to bash out recruitment, gain those communication skills, and gain those points, and also gain gain more leadership skills.
Because it's
Can't
a good
remember
way.
that there,
It's a good way to apply your doctrine, right? Because it's not like where you're gonna have to apply it out in the field. Everything in that simulation is pretty much down to a T, a controlled environment, right? So that's where you can again apply your doctrine, apply your fire maneuver, apply your bounds, learning all the stuff that you do, right? And you can apply it there pretty safely without, for example, sometimes people that are running trainings will be a little bit overzealous and, I don't know, see like 1 minute of you not having security and then decide to spawn a bunch of guys on your flank because you didn't have security set for a minute, which is, it's completely fine. It is testing you, right? But that simulation you're going to have.
You always do that as
Nothing
well,
really screwing with you.
like
Yeah.
looking out for the weaknesses and all that.
Yeah.
You can't have a second with him. Unless you're in the airborne, yeah, and you focus on on the army instead.
Yeah.
Which actually, sorry to interrupt, but actually brings us into a good point about the airborne closing down here. What
Oh.
is it? What is it? Obviously, so I got noticed a couple of days ago that the airborne may be closing down to get swapped out with a armored weaponized unit.
Mhm.
caught me off guard. It was like a haymaker of a throw. Man, I was annoyed. But I'm still a little bit annoyed now, like, but I want to know from you, why have you made this change? What will benefit the infantry and the end staff
The NSAF in general
as a whole?
for our operational changes on this TONE, why we're getting rid of the
Yeah.
Airborne Battalion. So overall, it stems from me analyzing a lot of battles where the airborne have been involved, and where even I have taken that initiative, or I planned out their DZ, not like the few airborne operations where they planned out themselves. Like, okay, we'll drop here, we'll do this. This are 3 objectives, blah 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 blah. And then looking at all the airborne operations in total, where there's been jumps, I think roughly, I think there was 5 jumps that I can think of in total, and only one of those airborne jumps have been successful. Just looking at their
Mm,
doctrine, how they operate, right? They operate with no vehicles. They operate with the supplies that are dropped with them, which is not inherently bad, right? But there is often a lot of. It's not even necessarily just a leadership mistake from the airborne themselves. It's just it's a very unfortunately, like it's a very good unit in doctrine, like if we think about it, but in practice, it's impractical because unfortunately, with how the jump days work, you need to show up at the jump day before the jump time, or you're kind of just SOL, right? So looking at that, that's the first deficiency that I noticed is that airborne operations they're inherently lackluster in terms of personnel. Like for example, the first combat operation that they dropped in, which actually technically 6 if we're looking at Operation Irontide, that operation, they jumped with 3 personnel, right? Then if we go to Hagenau, they once again jumped with 3 personnel, and a couple days later they jumped 2 more personnel in, and those 2 personnel never came back to that operation ever again. And
yeah,
then once again, if we go to another airborne drop, this is the only successful one. During Hagenau, they dropped 4 personnel when they have companies of like at the time they had companies of 9, and then back then or now we have companies of 14, which the fifth jump into um, the AO in Harlem Marken, that was probably the second best airborne showing. I think what we had Brewer show up, we had Broken show up, so
yeah,
we had the entire battalion staff show up. We had a good amount of first, second, and third platoon show up, like 2 from each platoon, right? So that was, or 1 or 2 from each platoon. So overall, it was a pretty good showing that the airborne had, right? But then the unfortunate part is that again, uh, it's still not enough because of how again,
exactly.
it's just not enough
Hmm.
to um,
Yeah.
you know uh,
Mm,
combat the enemy if they're doing a drop into areas where there's potentially battalions operating, armored battalions
yeah.
operating, right? They're just not simply made to deal with that. That's not how their doctrine works. Their grenadiers only get 4 rockets. If they drop with rocket supplies, they're dropping with very limited. And overall, that's just part of their problem. Is the first 2 problems that I kind of have with them is one, the drop system and how they drop. They never have enough personnel showing up to it. 2, they just don't necessarily they have the supplies on them to deal with those contacts, but if it's a prolonged
It's
defense,
Hmm.
that's where the problem
it,
is. Mm.
Yeah. What do you think of like the new battalion? How it will like operate in the new up and coming operation?
Well, how I think it's going to operate, I think it's going to be a very interesting doctrine to see laid out in field. Because again, how they work is their primary meat of the battalion is going to be your ACACs, your armored combined arms company, with
yeah.
your rifle platoon and your tank platoon organic. And we haven't really seen we've seen infantry operate with 1 tank, and we've seen that they've been operating very efficiently with 1 tank, and they've been able to protect that tank. But we have not seen them operate with 4 tanks before. We've had a tank platoon on once for Operation Second Son, which was a pretty fun operation where the tanks were effective, and we actually had the first ever Frontlines Thunder Run happen on that operation
Hmm.
where the tanks.
Wonder what's that?
So Thunder Run is armored doctrine, where essentially it's kind of like you just blitz past the enemy. You fucking
Oh,
run and gun. And
of course I miss shit like that. That sounds wicked.
yeah, and during Second Sun, there was a portion where the infantry and the tanks were getting surrounded because the enemies just took over the area, took over their left flank, so they had to pull back towards the highway. They were right about to get onto that highway. There's like an armored infantry platoon in front of them, armored infantry platoon behind them. On their flank, there's Panzerjägers and infantry pushing their sides, with the infantry kind of just standing there. And Spartan and me just kind of like we're like, you know what, we might have to thunder run this because that was one of our lucky operations where Spartan showed up. So it's always a good time when Spartan shows up because he can organize those guys pretty well, especially with
Yeah.
them being tanks. You know, he organized them extremely well. So we are like, yeah, we got a thunder run it. And Fairy, she was still a sergeant back then, and she was like, what is that? And we're like, all right, you're just gonna drive straight through it. You gotta run and gun. There is no stopping. You gun and then you get onto that
No,
highway.
I've
And it
I've
worked out
actually
really
got
well.
like, what is it? Another funny story about like what is it, tanks and line, and this actually is because of Fairy's fault. Yeah, I got told this. I wasn't actually a witness of it, but they were holding down. What town was it that they were holding down just before they pushed that like junction? Was it
Spocken. Spocken.
Sparking? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in Sparking. Yeah, where they're holding down or getting swarmed. Fairy, um, Fairy was out of her tank. Yeah, and she sends an RPG round. I'm pretty sure it's an RPG round, yeah, to her own tank and it blows up. I'm not exactly sure. Like, you don't quote me on it, yeah, but something on the lines of that happened. What is it? I'm like, they were operationally anyway. They were kind of fucked because they had no other like. Was it? I'm pretty sure.
Oh, are you talking about when like an enemy tank came out and just killed Fairy? Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you ever seen like T-34 or like any of those movies, but pretty much enemy tanks had a tank in the bush that they
Mm.
captured from us. It drove out of the bush, engaged Fairy, killed Fairy, and then killed that entire company that was going up that road there.
Oh
Bam
damn.
was there for it. He I think
Oh
he was one of
yeah.
the first people that died actually from it.
Yeah.
That's good. Do you know what?
Yeah, I got
Going back
scared.
on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was like running back, retreating, and then Mammal, Sergeant Mammal aims down the road, starts shooting at the tank, and as I run back, I just get like gunned down.
By mammal?
Yeah, by Mammal.
Oh no.
The fuck.
I mean, I think he was a corporal at
What?
the time still, right? And he was still your
Yeah,
APM
he
or
must have.
Charlie 3rd.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
I actually want to go back onto you, Bam. Obviously, you're Australian, so the time zones, including with Bam as well, because he's also Australian. Time zones between you two is a lot harder than was like for me example, because I've got 5 hour time. How do you manage to get to operations and all that? And
Um,
how's your combat effectiveness? Fucking hell. Combat effectiveness. Is that how you say Coswick? Yeah,
Yeah,
that I'm
combat
right on that race.
effectiveness. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, do you feel fatigued in that morning? Do you feel like you're pumping ready to go? How do you feel?
um, pretty tired. Like when we're like sitting there doing nothing, I just like question myself sometimes, or why am I here? But at the end, when we solve or when we do something and it's successful, I'm like stoked that I woke up
But
at
you're
5
actually there,
a.m.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I can understand you. The especially with the front lads, I think actually being able to do something and it gets that and you get it successfully. I've also butchered up that word so badly. But is it feels so rewarding, like being able to take over a town or hold down like this defense and all that. Like it's
Hmm.
one of those that like everyone wants to get, and when you once you actually get it, it's the best
Mm-hmm.
feeling ever.
Yeah.
And it's also like one of the main times where everyone from different time zones are on. So like normally I don't really see people from the UK as much, and like I
Yeah.
get to talk to them and have conversation with them, and yeah.
What is it? Like what is it? I'm always seeing you up. What is it? Stupid o'clock. I obviously it's not stupid o'clock for you, but for me it is like 4 o'clock. Is I'm never really awake at 4 o'clock, but I'm always seeing you, and also including Cosmic and all that. I'm always seeing them up as well at that time. But obviously, it's like 12 o'clock for them, 11 o'clock for them,
Yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
kind of understandable.
So yeah, it's like a lunchtime for me,
Mm.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
What is it, Ryan? Let's go on to another topic about the Operation Cosmic. What is it?
Operation
Operation
Scorch.
Scorch. Yeah.
Right.
Have you got any? What is it? Are you excited for this operation? What have you got planned for it that you can maybe spill some tea for us for the rest of the end stuff?
All right. So some tea. What's the plan of the operation? So, of course, with the teaser trailer that we just dropped for it, it's pretty clear that our inspiration for the operation is Operation Iraqi Freedom, IRL that the U.S. fought, and I think it's going to be the best NSAF operation yet, because this is where we're going to be using a lot of our battlefield tactics that we've learned. This is where we're going to be using a lot of our maneuver warfare doctrine, where this, again, our new armored infantry battalion that we're going to be standing up in place of the airborne is going to be a lot very useful. It allows us to kind of dive into a field that we've been kind of hesitant to go in. We've kind of been dipping our foot into the water, but not necessarily going too far into it because we do have vehicles and we've used them maybe not necessarily the most effectively. I'd say the Abrams is the only reason why the vehicles are used right now. We don't really use the MRAPs. We don't really use the Fenix, the Urals. The Urals were used whenever Ferry was doing, logistical work. But this operation is
Yeah,
going to be
we
so critical.
the airborne had rules as well, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For a little bit of Hagenau, they had Urals because they didn't have any other vehicles to transport them. So we just, from regiment gave some Urals over. But we haven't used our vehicles to the fullest potential. But this operation is definitely going to use them to that fullest potential. So, for anyone unaware of this operation is thousands of blocks long. We timed it, and it takes a while for us to drive to the closest city in the operation, and that is
Can I give out like
straight.
specific numbers?
Yeah, I think it's pretty public information. I think we've
Yeah,
talked about it a lot
it's
in
around
DC.
5 minutes. Like just on trucks to get over to the first town.
Hmm.
By the way, guys.
And
So
that's not even in like, oh, that's not even thinking about like, oh, are you moving out in a company convoy? Are you moving out? Are you trying to ferry supplies? That's just one straight trip of like I think
yeah,
three cars.
no interruptions, no nothing, no ambushes. Literally just one road,
Hmm.
one don't.
And you're going through desert, you're going through mountain terrains. This operation is going to be very different for our NSAF personnel that are we've been used to operating in pretty cramped environments with like I think Harlem Market is maybe the first operation where we have really big roads that our vehicles can actually go down without much interference. This operation
Hmm.
is going to be completely different because pretty much you're not restricted by any terrain other than the mountains in this operation.
Which
But
is strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is strange
mhm,
because what is it? You have because the desert is just a vast desert. Yeah, when you actually get into those towns, yeah, the roads are so small that only infantry can actually operate perfectly in them. No tanks can like, was it? No tanks can go in, sweep entire block of buildings,
mhm.
can
Maybe in Harlem Marken, but hopefully with this operation, we've made the roads, the highway that we're specifically operating on, the main highway that takes you through the entirety of the map, is 11
they?
blocks wide, and majority of the town roads are no fewer than 5 blocks wide. So technically, every single
Yeah.
vehicle can fit. Whether it can operate effectively is the question, but uh, we're hoping to see a lot of infantry and armor coordination here, which we're going to be practicing on in the next upcoming months. And we're hopefully going to be starting this operation in November. So we'll have probably two more teaser trailers and then an official trailer coming up for that
Mhm.
operation, upcoming maybe in September, late
Hmm.
September, and then hopefully we'll deploy by November. We'll see what happens though.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
It's like as much good as we're probably gonna get from these vehicles, Cosmic. Do you think anything like bad or like shitty can happen to us,
In
like
the
with the
vehicles,
vehicles? Yeah.
Um, well, of course, it's kind of driving with vehicles. Sometimes, since it's the highways are so long, if your drivers aren't paying attention, if your guys aren't staying on the watch, especially your a rifleman that's on the M60 at the top of your MRAPs, if they're not paying attention, they're the most likely to die. So that's the one thing is that we need to train up our guys and enlisted men need to remember that even though it is a boring drive. You're not doing anything. You're kind of just waiting for it to get to the destination. it's going to be super hard to make sure enlisted men are paying attention because we have it hard enough as it is to make sure even officers are paying attention while watching the line, right? So that
Mhm.
discipline needs to be built up by everyone, that you're paying attention no matter what. But especially in these roads,
Mhm.
you're driving through the mountains, you're driving past sand dunes. Man, the shit that hides behind these sand dunes are crazy. Like you could run, I like it's pretty open, right? But those sand dunes are where kind of like enemies might be hiding, that sort of thing. There's a lot of uh, open stretches of roads. There's going to be a lot of landmines, a lot of things
Yep.
that can really ruin your day in the field if you're not paying attention.
Yep.
Yeah. Was it? I I actually can't wait for this operation. It's obviously getting into like what is it like the front lines, and, like everyone watching what is Generation Kill. We're all getting into like that feeling of let's do some more modern warfare, which obviously the modern warfare was for us anyway was the Afghan war and the Iraq war and all that malarkey. Yeah, think what is it? It's just I've been waiting for this because I've always kind of wanted the front lines to be instead of being like what is it, a World War Two type of scenario. Well, not scenario, but more of like a Milsim. We're actually advancing as a group
Mm,
to more, like I said, more of a modern warfare. Was it? Is that like your main goal is to keep it advancing,
we're
more modern, modern, modern?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of just like a obvious place to go because, of course, stuff that we have modern day is like it's what the military use, right? We're starting to expand into territory of using operations orders. We're starting to use frag awards, right, to keep ourselves organized. And eventually, it's just kind of realization of, oh, in the past we used to be super unorganized. Nobody knows what they're doing. Leadership is like all over the place. There's only a few key people that stand out in leadership. But now we're developing, we have, places for all all forms of people to learn leadership, learn these tactical skills. Like recently, infantry combat school that opening up for members to learn battle drills, to learn individual movement techniques, to learn all these things that are necessary for them as infantry soldiers to know. And not only that, but it also again it helps them provide that leadership aspect in ICS since it's passing leadership. It gets passed on every single day to a new person. And then for your
Yeah,
NCOs, we have our improved platoon leader program where instead of learning it all in one day, you get 3 separate days to practice it and apply it. And then our officers, they're definitely don't have a lot. A lot of their work is theory at the moment, but I'm hoping to integrate someday a short kind of like company practice where you're leading a company. But that again, that really depends because now we're gonna be having like over 4 different types of companies. Now we have our HQ companies, our armored HQ companies, our ACACs, we have our armored cavalry companies, and then we have our normal line companies. So that's 5 companies, or yeah, 5 companies in total now that an officer can train to be in charge of, right? And currently, right now, we only train officers to be in charge of rifle companies. So it's a very interesting thing that I'll have to
yeah.
continue reforming.
Yeah, what was it? I was actually going to bring this up just before we end off this episode. What was it? You spoke to me about this yesterday, I'm pretty sure, about how officers, yeah, realistically, yeah, their effectiveness, the effect of them over their own company, yeah, only really limits them to 2 platoons. What is
Mm-hmm.
another fair platoon wouldn't wouldn't get the attention that the company commander
Mm-hmm.
really should give them. So going forward, going up to this operation, would there be a change in company format, or would you
Mm-hmm.
keep the same?
All right. So that what I was talking about there, just for some context, was during the airborne training. Even when I was leading it, and we had 3 platoons. I found that sometimes I could only engage our, like for example, our first, second, those are our rifle platoons, and our third platoon, right? Since I only have one weapons platoon, I can only engage the weapons platoon by itself, right? I can only have one support by fire element, and then get the rifle platoon to maneuver around another way, and then have to find that other rifle platoon a smaller objective, or keep those rifle platoons like really close to each other, which is not necessarily ideal. And that's where I kind of noticed where like I would send kind of one rifle platoon up by itself on one flank that's stronger compared to like the weaker rifle platoon staying within like Overwatch position of our weapons platoon, and
Mm.
I don't think it's ever going to get phased out the 3 company system for rifle companies, just because rifle companies notoriously have like they're not going to have they only have 1 tank attached to them, right? So they don't
Yeah,
necessarily have the firepower to how do I say it? They don't have the firepower to kind of give up that platoon, right? It's nice having that second platoon because they can either use that second platoon or second rifle
that's
platoon
another.
as a reserve
Yeah,
and or completing other objectives, right? So that's where um, I meant as it's more like do you like you can only really have two. It's like since we have odd number of platoons, it's kind of hard having the weapons platoon support everyone, right? That's
mm,
the problem with it. But then again, we have our squads formed up, squads of 2, so that's why I'm not too worried about that one rifle platoon going off on his own, as long as that rifle platoon leader knows, all right, to split my force, one becomes support by fire, one of us becomes maneuver, and we have to take this objective by ourselves since we're operating away from the company. And also,
yeah,
you do have your first sergeant help you manage that, right? Like for during that training, the reason why I found it a little bit difficult was because I didn't have a secondary leader, right? I was the only officer in that case. All the other NCOs were in charge of their own platoons, and then I didn't have a either executive officer. I didn't have a first sergeant or SNCO with me at the time, right? So that's why kind of found it hard. It's because I was just running between
yeah.
2 groups, 2 platoons, and then 1 platoon that was separated by itself, and making sure that these platoons weren't outpacing each other so they get hit from their flanks. So that's where I found
All
that
right.
hard.
Yeah, do you know what? Actually, I going on to like what is it? The like company commanders needing their like senior NCOs. I I do feel like especially now, senior NCOs do need to start. I won't say locking in, but start needing to actually like pattern up and all that, and like start helping out their own company commander because I wouldn't even say senior NCOs. They're like what is it? Their fair sergeants inside of the company should be helping them out because, like you said, it's harder if it's 3 companies instead of 2, but it works more effectively if there are
Platoons.
3 platoons. Sorry, yeah, it works more effectively if there are 3 platoons. Yeah, and that fair sergeant or the company fair sergeant helps out and all that. But
Manage that, yeah.
I just want to bring it up, just not shed something light, but maybe understand more about that. Was it just before we actually finish off? What was it, Bam? If you have any more questions you would like to say, speak, whatever.
Nah, I'm good. No
Nah.
more questions.
Have you got any more questions, Cosmic?
No, that's all. That's all for me.
All right, sounds right. What was it? Well, thank you for joining us on this podcast episode. I'll gladly have you back any day of the week. What is it? What is it? What episode's this now, Cosmic? Like episode
Episode
3, episode
Yeah,
4?
episode 3.
See
Start
you guys.
episode 3. All right. Well, no, that's not how it goes, Bam. We're meant to all go, and then you go. What is it, right? What is it, right? This is like Cosmic just said, this has been podcast episode 3. I'm Command Sergeant Major Balocki. We've got
Major General Cosmic and Staff Sergeant Bam.
there we go. Right. Uh better ciao, I guess.
Au revoir.
See ya.